Well, it is time for us to go to the next session, which is nothing but the data types in the Rust. We need to understand what are all the supported data types available in the Rust, and this is very much comparable with rest of the programming languages, and you will find it definitely easier. I've got some very good examples for you, and you will understand that definitely in a much easier way. Right, data types. Rust is statically data typed, which means each variable has got an associated data type with it. And the compiler is all very intelligent and it will understand the type of the variable based on the value that you store into the variable. I store an integer, the compiler will automatically understand that it is an integer. Right, we are going to start with the fundamentals and we are going to declare a variable. Right, declaration of the variable is very easy in Rust and we need to use the keyword called let. L-E-T. Let is the keyword that we are going to use towards declaring a variable. Well, it's easy and an example is always handy. How do we do it? Very simple. Function, main, and inside that let, you can see let data underscore string. When you have it as string, you need to make it within double quotes, and this is pretty common in most of the programming languages, and we are following the same. Learning Rust is easier, and this is string data type. Now when I want to print it, println exclamation mark, the message is, you see the curly brace here, this is mandatory. The message is colon curly brace data underscore string. The variable name is data underscore string and it has got the string stored inside it, and let is used to define, used to declare a variable. Now similarly I'm going to the next one. Let data underscore float equal to 1.23456. Now I'm going to print it right now. Println when it floats colon curly brace data underscore float. So this is again the float data. I am printing the variable data underscore float. Similarly, I can have boolean. Let data underscore boolean equal to true, and I am printing the same again. Let data underscore icons equal to heart, and I am printing the same with data underscore icons. Now, please understand the point. Let is the keyword that we need to use for declaring a variable, and it is very much easy for somebody to go ahead with declaration of a string or a float or a boolean or an integer or even icons. It's pretty easy. Now, when you want to run it, what is the compiler that we use here? RustC. RustC is the compiler followed by variable underscore dec.rs. That's the name of the file. You can see that here. When I run it, I'll get file generated by the name variable underscore dec.exe, and when you run that further, you get the result. The message is learning Rust is easier. When it floats, you can see that here. When it floats, I get the float value 1.23456. When it is boolean, I get a true or false, and in this case, I have put true. And when I want the icon to be printed, I can have the same as well printed. Now, what I did the first time is I did not have the naming convention right. I use the name of the variable as a followed by capital S, upper letter S, uppercase S string. Now it suggested that you please change it as a string. This is one of the great features that I would love with Rust. It suggests you. This is a warning. It will not even give us an error message. It won't affect us. But the warnings are pretty appropriate and they are going to be very useful for us. Well, can we see this as a demo? Yes, it's always useful. I'm going to go through the demo process. Here I explain you the file once again. I have got the string defined declared clearly, and then I have gone with the float, then I go with boolean and then icon. You can see that I use double quotes for string without fail. Float is also properly defined, and you can go ahead with the entire process here very easily, and the code is explained to you already. Now when you want to run it, you can see that here I'm compiling it first, and when I want to run it, I can run it with the executable file and I got the output. That's all. It's pretty easier, right? What is the next thing? We need to understand about the scalar data types. What is scalar? Scalar is always one value. It can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 1.40, d, x, y, z, anything. So there are four types of scalar data types which are supported in Rust. They are integer, the floating point, the booleans, and the characters. We are aware of all of this and we are going to go through step by step with each of these inputs. Well, let's start with integer. Integer is nothing but, as you know, a number without fraction. No dot and content after that. Well, it's all whole numbers. Integer can be classified as signed and unsigned, and you all know that as well, and this is pretty common in rest of the programming languages. As we know, signed integer can store a plus or minus values, which means you can represent what is the sign. Is it positive or negative? Unsigned will only have positive. We can see here very clearly the size is 8-bit and it is I8 representation. Unsigned, when you go with, you need to use it as U8. 16-bit representation, when you go with signed, it is I16 and unsigned is U16. 32-bit, it is I32 and U32 appropriately for unsigned. 64-bit, similarly I64 and U64. 128-bit, I128 and U128. All these are simple and easy for you to understand. Well, let's go ahead with a simple instance. I'm going to create a simple file where I'm going to play with the integer data type. And by default, it is I32, which means it is 32-bit. Now, let init equal to 5. I am initializing an integer with 5 as the default value. And salary, I'm having another variable, but I make it unsigned. You can see that here, unsigned 32 and 300. Let add I32 equal to 5 minus 12. So this is signed, this is unsigned. You can see that here, we are using the signed and the unsigned terminologies properly. When you want to go with signed, you use I8, I16, I32. When you want to go with unsigned, you use U8, U16, U32 appropriately. Now you could see that here. I have got signed value. Let add I32 equal to 5 minus 12, which means the answer should be minus 7. And since it is signed, it will get you the result properly. And I have an incentive which is 20. I have a number which is 30. And see that we are going to print it. I am printing the initial value init. So init is 5 and it is I32 by default. So I'll get the 5 in the output. Now I have salary which is unsigned 300. So I'm printing it now. Salary is, I have salary here and it is 300. It is printed. And the incentive is, I have got incentive here, I size 20. So you can see that here 20. So it's printed properly. And then I come to sum, where you can see that sum is nothing but add. You can see that I32, again this is signed, 5 minus 12, which is nothing but 7. So you need to understand this properly. Now, since it is signed, we could get a negative result also here, which is minus 7. The sign is appropriately updated. And the number I have is 30. You can see that here, number is 30 and it is printed. That's all. Can we see the way the demo works? It's all very simple and easy for anybody to understand. I'm going to go through it quickly so that I can understand that. I have explained you the code neatly already. So let's go ahead with the process of running it so that it will be easy for you. I am compiling the code and running it. You can see that the initial value is 5 and it's appropriately available there. Salary is 300 and incentive is 20. It's presented. And then I go with the signed operation and the result is minus 7. That's all. It's very simple for you. Right. Let's go with the next one and it's also easy. It's time for us to float. We are going to float. We have got two float types and one is F32 and another one is F64. F32 is always single precision float, whereas F64 is double precision and the default is F64. Well, we are going to go with a simple example again. Let balance equal to 12.0340. Now F64 is the default type. Let lend equal to F32. I'm making it F32 here purposefully, 3.345. And let total F64. I'm making it 64 and 504300.600. This is double precision and please note this. When I want to print it, print ln, balance value is balance, lend is lend, total is total. I get the result out here. You can see that the balance is printed appropriately as a float, 12.034. Lend is printed appropriately as float again, 3.345. 504300.6. There are double zeros which is ignored here. 504300.6 and it's also printed. So you can have two types of it. Can we go ahead with the quick demo of it? It's pretty easy for you to understand. And I have explained you the code. So it's time for us to right away go ahead with the running of it. So you can see that we got the value as I have presented you in the screenshot. All these are very simple and easy for anybody to understand. Try it out, and once you try it out, if you get any query, let me know. I'll be able to help you. Right. There is something great that we need to know in addition to whatever data types we have learned till now. We have learned about the integer and the float. Now it is time for us to understand one more thing called a separator. What is it? It is going to be very useful when we want to enhance the readability. Well, readability is always a problem when you write programming languages or write a long number, write code with long numbers being part of it. Here we can make it a bit easier. What is it, sir? Very simple. Use a separator. Separator is nothing but an underscore here. You can see that let total equal to 504 underscore 300. It is as good as 504 300 continuously. So if you want to read it properly, if you want to enhance the readability, you can use an underscore. So 50465.656 underscore 021 is as good as 50465.650621 continuously. So wherever you want to have a separation done, wherever you want to have readability enhanced, you can go with this. This is one of the very important points that I thought I should include in this session. We are going to have more on variables and also naming conventions in the next session. Until then, stay tuned. Thank you very much. If you like the channel and the content, please subscribe. Thank you.